Good magical morning, Magic Family. Welcome back for another live stream. Today we're switching it up a little bit, and this is going to be our first tarot story Tuesday. Now I'm going to use today to kind of tell you guys a little more about tarot. Today we're going to be um, talking about the Fool's Journey, which is the Fool card's journey through the major arcana. Okay, so there are 22 cards in the major arcana, that is the Fool through the world. And I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey through that today. Now, tarot is essentially the story of the Fool's journey, and each card represents some different aspect of it. But ultimately, this is just a metaphor for our journeys through life. And each major card plays a huge role in how the story goes. They each symbolize a lesson or experience that we have to acknowledge and incorporate those into our experience in the order that they come into our lives. And that's how we realize our wholeness on our spiritual journey. Okay. So I dug out the major arcana cards for each one of my actual tarot decks. Now, right now, I only have 4, I think, and the rest are all oracle cards. So, but I have given a few away for giveaways and things like that. So we have the major arcana from the Steampunk Tarot. Okay. And I'm going to show each card as we go through. Okay. And then we have the Deviant Moon Tarot major arcana, the Wild Unknown. These are by Kim Krans. The Deviant Moon are by Patrick Valenza, and Barbara Moore created the Steampunk Tarot. But the one I love the most telling this journey is actually the Everyday Witch Tarot. And these are Deborah Blake's deck. And I just love how they kind of almost interact with you as you're going through this journey. And it's really easy to kind of relate to the little characters that she uses. The Steampunk Tarot and the Deviant Moon Tarot are both artistic interpretations. I don't actually have a traditional tarot deck, it looks like. And then Kim Krans uses animals and imagery in hers, and they were all drawings that she had done. She created this deck during her kind of Dark Night of the Soul. I hate to call it that because it's sort of cliche, but that's kind of what this was. So we begin with the Fool card, right? So the Fool card is the card of beginnings, and it is set in the middle of our own individual universe, so to speak. The Fool stands for each of us as we begin our journey of life. It's named a fool because, well, only a simple soul has the innocent faith to undertake such a journey with all its hazards and pain, right? And the Fool is strangely empty, as in zero experience, but it's imbued with a desire to go forth and learn. And upon setting out in the world, the Fool encounters one of my favorite cards, the Magician. Okay. Okay, now the magician is the embodiment of communication, right? And intellect. Okay. And the magician represents the energies of the universe, I guess, so to speak. Now, trying to get these in the right light for you guys. The magician, as I was saying, the magician represents the energies of the universe through our conscious awareness, and in a way acts as the fool's guide, but not without reminding us first with sleights of hand that the mind is the illusion, right? So you see how different these interpretations are, but they all have a lot of the same symbolism, right? Now, after the fool encounters the magician, they then encounter the high priestess. And she's always met after the magician, and she's never really very far apart from him either. Okay. Now, the high priestess represents our unrealized potential. Okay. She provides a balance in the form of mystery and consciousness. So, what is mere coincidence and what is a synchronistic opportunity brought to you by the universe? Okay. Oops, pulled too many. Now, I think for the High Priestess card, my favorite is the A Wild Unknown Tarot is my favorite rendition of that. Now, after the High Priestess comes the Empress. The Empress is the biological, earthly mother of, well, everything that lives, okay? And she is literally Mother Nature herself. The Empress represents our fertility. It represents art and beauty and just general life and, well, general. Now, when we are encountering the Empress, she's nurturing and seductive and, like nature, breathtakingly beautiful, right? She gives birth to the Fool, and he, ever grateful for the gift of life. Okay. The Empress spoils this child and provides it with whatever they wish and loves it unconditionally, just like most of our own mothers did, right? Here she is in all her fruitful glory. Okay. The next person the Fool encounters, however, after the Empress is the Emperor, right? Now, the Emperor is representative of the structure and authority in our life. Because, as a baby leaves its mother's arms, they learn that there are patterns to the world. And the child starts to experience a new kind of pleasure that comes from discovering order. And that's where the Emperor comes in. Okay. The Fool then will venture away from home and instead Sorry, I guess I focused on that other card. And then the Steampunk Tarot's Emperor. The next figure that the Fool comes in contact with on this journey is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant represents things like religion and government and, ultimate authorities in our life. Sometimes even God himself, right? And he's always super authoritative, but fair. Okay. Now, some represent the Hierophant as kind of like a guru. But in the purposes of this story, he's just a wise teacher. And the Fool's begun to develop a knowledge about traditions of culture and begins his formal education. Okay. Continuing on the journey, the Fool comes to a crossroads. Continue on this current path, or as depicted in the next card, the Lovers, right? Now, the Lovers card kind of reaches out and asks you to become part of a union. And this provides the balance and the adoration in our life, right? The Fool is now an adult with a divine character. And a definite certainty in their values, okay? Through discipline and willpower, there is a developed inner control which allows triumph over their environment, right? And this is when the Chariot arrives. And the Chariot comes to teach the Fool about having a decisive mind, right? It asks the Fool to, pick a path. Because time passes and life presents the Fool with numerous challenges, and some of which cause suffering and disillusionment. But we still must go on, right? Now, some decks represent the number 8 as fortitude, but for the most part, in modern decks, it is the Strength card. Okay. So after we've gone through the challenges of the Chariot, we're developing courage and finding resolve to carry on despite our setbacks with the Strength card. And during this stage, the Fool acquires quite a bit of patience and confidence. And sooner or later, the Fool starts to ask why, right? And that's when the Hermit card, I lost card somewhere, comes in. Okay. Right? The Hermit card represents our need to find deeper truth and seeking moments of solitude away from all the frantic activity of our lives, right? Now, I missed one with the... I pulled out too many cards somewhere. Oh, there we go. I found it. Hang on, guys. Sorry. My cards stuck together, so now I got stuck. All right, so the Hermit. Once the Fool begins the state of introspectively looking at the lessons he's learned and trying to understand his feelings and motivation, the Fool has an enlightening realization that the world is full of cycles, right? Now, cycles is the Wheel of Fortune's forte, so to speak. The Wheel of Fortune symbolizes a chance encounter or miraculous occurrence that begins the process of a change. And the next lesson that the Fool experiences after, well, spinning the wheel of fate, so to speak, is its first run-in with justice. Okay. Now, justice always carries a double-edged sword. Only for the simple fact that it encourages fair and just decisions be made after fully investigating a situation. The Fool takes responsibility for past actions and ensures a more honest course for our future. Okay. Now, the Fool has come across a situation that makes him acknowledge that no matter the struggle or sacrifice or force put into taming something, that nothing seems to be working right. He's hit a wall. And they're forced to let go and take a more introspective view and get a new perspective. And that's where the Hanged Man card comes in, right? And everybody thinks, oh, the Hanged Man, oh my goodness. But actually, the Hanged Man represents a time of insight so deep that for a moment, nothing but insight exists. That light bulb moment. So the Fool now comes across a being known as death after it comes to this point of alignment. Now, contrary to popular belief, however, the death card does not represent actual death, although it is sometimes symbolized in a sort of gruesome way. My favorite of the death card is the Steampunk Tarot right here. Now, at first, when you encounter this death energy, it encourages profound changes and no mercy. And it seems to almost be crushing the Fool. But eventually they rise up to discover that death is not a permanent state. It's simply a transition to a new, more fulfilling way of life. Okay. And that's when the Temperance card comes in. Now, the Temperance card is the next lesson to become the Fool. Temperance tells of the balance of strengths within us and asks us to show moderation in all areas of our life, right? It symbolizes that whole go within or go without concept, so to speak. Now, next, the fool comes face to face with the devil. Now, the devil symbolizes the shadow side of our psyche, and it contains all aspects of our personality that we dislike and would rather not know about. Okay. Now, however, the devil's message is that ambition and progress should not be confused with greed and selfishness. And once you break the self-made chains, you're free to make amends. Okay. And at this point, filled with despair, the fool watches as well. The tower starts to crumble. And he just watches this tower. It's just crumbling to the ground. And recognizing the only way to be free of the devil is to, well, just give in to the force that's stronger than him and embrace the crisis at hand. Okay. And the revelations associated with this tower card kind of shake up life and offer you a chance to start anew. Now, after the fact, the fool is bathed in an almost serene calm. You know, after the fact, in any situation, and that's where the star is. Now, in the story, the star emanates this supreme calm, and it represents a period of quiet healing for the fool as he recuperates from the events of late. And endowed with a trust that completely replaces the negative energies of the devil, his faith in himself and the future is restored in the presence of the star. Okay. Now, in this dreamy condition, the fool is susceptible to fantasy, distortion, and a false picture of the truth, though, as well. And this results in a vulnerability to the illusions emanating from the moon. Okay. By the light of the moon, it can be difficult to see things with clarity. And this often leaves the fool quite bewildered. So this represents that confusion after we see the light and change our life and then realize that, well, we still have more work to do. But, you know, the sun always comes out tomorrow, right? The sun rises and the illuminated imagination of the fool dispels all the clouds and fear that hung before him. And with a restored motivation and direction, the fool then goes forward with vitality towards its new beginning. The fool has been reborn. And in that rebirth, his false ego self has been shed, allowing his radiant, true self to manifest. He's discovered that joy, not fear, is at life's center, and self-forgiveness is learned despite past regrets and mistakes. And then it's time for the fool to make a judgment, right? About his values and choosing wisely which ones to carry into the future, right? And which ones to discard on the side of the path. And then this is when the Fool re-enters the world, right? But this time with a more complete understanding, reaching the peak of attainment, the reward for all effort, the crowning glory. But even in the moment of triumph, there's the knowledge of a new goal to be attained, right? Because the Fool shares their journey. They share their unique gifts and talents and find that prosperity is present in every attempt. And so at the conclusion of the journey, we realize it was not foolish after all. The Fool is now fully aware of their place in this world. The cycle's over. But the Fool will never stop growing. And soon he's going to be ready to set out on a new journey once again. That's going to lead him to ever greater levels of understanding and enlightenment. And so there ends the journey of the Fool. Thank you for joining me for this Tarot Story Tuesday. I hope to see all of you tomorrow when we get together again. Remember, favor follows you wherever you go. As does my love. Be good. Be good to yourselves and be good to each other. Remember, you're changing the world every day just by being you. Bye now.